Wow, over there in the land of Oz. Well, it's not morning here, as you can probably see by that very black window out there. So welcome to the stream. We're going to be hanging out and talking about early Unity content, 2D and 3D, more pertinent to the Unity 2D course, but also the 3D course. And just in case anybody hasn't got it, here's the main course we're talking about. Let's just check a couple of things. My sound good? Rick sound good? Yeah, no buffering, no funny business like that. Hopefully it's all good and the tech is working and we can just crack into it. So any questions will be awesome in the chat. We can start questions. This is early Unity content questions. Hey, Mikey, good to have you with us. We give preference to those people who are subscribed to the channel. Did Rick say something? Yes, Rick did say something. Rick, are they hearing you?
Hello, are you hearing me? Check 1, 2. How's my audio level?
They're probably not hearing you. I think that... yeah, Twitch Dog said the sound's good and the sync is great, which is awesome. But I think that they can't hear you. But they will be able to now, Rick, I think, with the adjustment I just made. So let's try again.
Okay, hello, check 1, 2. Can you hear me now?
I think they will be able to. I'm now routing the sound out the relevant place. So we'll see. And then, cool. User 1965760025888. Hello. Awesome. Glad to see you've got Twitch try. Oh, no good? Still no Rick? Hello, hello. Let's try that.
Hello, here we go. Check 1, 2. I'm not seeing all of the chat that you're seeing either. Do I need to be in a different room?
You should just be in the main chat room. Click the little cog and then make sure... Oh, I've got followers only chat on actually at the moment, which is fine. We will go for followers only. You need to have been following us for 10 minutes to join in the chat. If you're seeing less than that, then that's confusing. Okay, so Rick, they should be able to hear you now. If not, my little sound control system is not working properly.
Hello, here we go. Let's do another check. Always obligatory at the start of a stream, isn't it? To spend a couple of minutes fiddling around with the audio, making sure it all works.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Good to see you here. Hey, Oboe shape, still you're sounding distant, Rick. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my neck out and just quit this program and restart it. It's a little buggy. I'm trying to find a solution here on the Mac. I'll stop talking. Okay. So I think that will be doing it.
Hello, let's check this again. Let's see how things are going.
When they say you're distant, what they're getting is they're getting you coming through my mic. You see, they're not getting you digitally coming out of Zoom for whatever reason. But I restarted this sound routing software, and that should have fixed it.
I thought they were talking about my aloof attitude, my easygoing, carefree way of roaming through life. Just a little bit distant.
Could be that. Okay, let's see where we're going to send you. Let's try doing that. Will almost certainly have fixed it. Rick, say a victory. Ben's fixed it, because I will have done this time.
Ben thinks that he's fixed it, and there's absolutely no chance that he hasn't fixed it this time.
There is
zero
chance.
Ben never does anything that doesn't work.
Exactly. I never do anything that doesn't work. So just watch the chat now light up with thousands of bits and lots of excited fixed. Look at that. Fixed. We're going to get tons of new subscribers. We're going to get cheers. We're going to be showered with so many bits that we'll be able to retire just because we fixed the sound. It's amazing, this Twitch thing. Anyway, cool. So Rick, let's talk the early part of Unity 2D to get the conversation started. So if you're not seeing yourself in the chat, by the way, you need to follow us, and you need to have followed us for 10 minutes because we get too busy here to see all the chat. So if you guys see chat from people who aren't followers, maybe you can let us know that if they particularly need something. And of course, we're going to give preference to those people who are very kindly subscribed to us here on Twitch, which is awesome. Hey Ted,
also,
good to see you. Hey Chronix.
Sorry, interrupt, Ben. I'd love to ask at this early stage, if people can just write in the chat if they're currently on our 2D course, 3D course, or none. So just write 2D, 3D, none. If you're in 2 of those, shouldn't be in 3 of those. Doesn't really make sense. You can write 2D and 3D, or just 2D. That'll help us know who is visiting at the moment and who's watching live. What sort of questions we're going to get early on.
Awesome. Mikey, you need to be leading the way there, mate, by taking your Twitch. You're bound to have an Amazon Prime subscription. You can link it to Twitch and then use that to subscribe to our channel. There you go, just to lead the way with everybody else. Oh, I should make Mikey a moderator as well while we're at it. So let's just let's do that.
It's a lot of responsibility for Mikey. Does everyone know Mikey? Mikey, our 3D Blender champion.
There's the course. There's Mikey's main course. And then also the Blender Characters course, which I'm sure he'd love to tell you about, but he's not in voice tonight. So I'll send you the link to that. It's BCC, I think. There you go. He's linking it right now. What's he got? Oh, he's got himself a sword now. So Irresistible Jelly, Mark, thanks for being here. Godot, anyone? 3R Tron. I'm not sure what you're saying, Godot, anyone. I'm not sure what the question is there, but Jan is working on the Godot course very hard behind the scenes right now. It'll be going to the Kickstarter backers in a week or two, and it'll be going to everybody else in several weeks in the late summer. Cool, Rick. Do you want to share your screen, ask some questions about this Unity? Let's get more of a technical discussion tonight. We've done a lot of AMAs and chatting. Let's have Unity on the screen. Bit of code, bit of annotating, bit of resisting drawing anything rude on your screen. That sort of stuff. That type of stream.
That type of stream, is it? The resisting writing rude stuff. That'll make a nice change.
Yeah, that's the way this is going to roll.
Okay, let me share my screen.
Yeah, we're super excited for the 2D rework, even though Rick's doing it. It still has a chance.
Even though Rick's doing it, look at that. Any chance to do little subtle digs in there, isn't it?
It's any chance. A lot of flies coming in. I'm just going to go close this door a little bit. I'll be back in a second. I'm going to maximize this screen. I can't really maximize it.
By the way, Rick loved the random dot range with ints question. Oh, thank you. With ints question.
This might be, I'm not sure. Oh, you're saying that did you put a question in the course about random not range and integers and whether it's inclusive or not exclusive, all that fun stuff?
I think so. That must be, well, I did all that fun stuff. I'm not sure if the question there is referring to the quiz question. This is from Chromix PT.
It's very, very hot here at the moment, 30 degrees. I know that's not hot by your standards, Rick, so I'm having to carefully come in and out of the camera shot because I'm not as dressed below the waist as I'd like to be for this stream.
Are you naked again? Is that what's happening?
No, I am not naked. You can see that from the fact that I'm wearing a purple shirt.
You're just suggestive. Are you wearing a kilt?
No. Anyway, shall we move on to the technical aspects of Unity rather than what I'm wearing below the waist?
Okay, good. Our internet just had a hiccup there, so...
You are in Australia. You're lucky to have any internet out there. You don't have Amazon.
So racist against Australians. Goodness me.
Australians are fine. We'll put up with them.
Quiz question. Awesome. Oh, yeah, I've been putting a little bit of humor into the quiz questions and into the course every now and again. Not too much, because I know when people are trying to concentrate, they don't want to laugh too much and get knocked off their point of, focus.
Not a huge risk of that, really, with your humor, though, Rick, is there?
Well, often the humor is at your expense, so I know that you're not looking at all the course and the questions the way you could be.
I think I'm in a pointy wizard's hat in this very game, am I not?
Ben's expense.
Oh, what a shame. Just as Rick is going to insult me, his internet crapped out. Oh, Mozzie. Yeah. Now, I can't jump for that because of what I said before, but anyway, I'll get it. Try again, Rick. Your internet died a little bit.
Oh, okay. Thanks. This is Zoom. It's not the internet. It's usually when we use Zoom. Okay, cool. Starting to get questions. Do we have a way we're asking people to preface questions with QSTN or
well, they could do. It would be helpful to put QSTN in front. It'd also be helpful to be a subscriber. There you go. That's how you bring it out. But we'll answer questions after all the subscribers have asked questions. We will then ask the questions for non-subscribers. By the way, long term, this whole Twitch channel may go to a subscriber-only chat scenario. We're not quite there yet, but it may go to that at some point. Just to pre-warn you. But till we've added enough value and showed you all how to subscribe and etc., then we're not going to do that. We're going to leave it open to everybody, but subscriber preference. Thanks, Irresistible Jelly. So let's crack on with it, Rick. What were you going to tell us about the 2D course?
Well, the 2D course at the moment, an update. I know people have been asking about an update. A big thank you for everyone's patience while we're doing the remaster. We've completed Number Wizard UI. So we've now completed the introduction section, the very first text.
Oh, he stopped again. Look at that. Frozen in a perfect screen. Oh, text. So we got introduction text and then you froze. You're back.
Oh, goodness me. Zoom's going to be a little bit of a pain today. I can see on the Twitch stream that I'm just sitting there doing nothing.
No, you're back. You're only out for a couple of seconds.
I might need to. If it happens again, I'll jump out of Zoom and jump back in again to get it all working.
I just want to sell this chap, Zacko Bitsy Muesli. Well, hard to say, Muesli. We will try and get to your question in a moment. I just want to get some stuff out of Rick, and then a few more. I'll try and get back to your question. Do repost it if we don't get to you. Okay.
Yeah,
Go.
so one thing Ben and I were talking about just before we jumped into this call was things like when to fix a bug, when to add a whole bunch of extra code to solve something that it seems like it needs to be solved, but maybe doesn't need to be solved. And just talking specifically now about Number Wizard UI, we have a little bit of an issue where the player, if they do something that the player shouldn't, which players are always going to do, we get a little.
Oh, he's frozen again. Rick's about to tell you that if the player, if so, this is a guess the number. Oops, there you go. I was just filling in for you. Carry on.
Yep. Let me know if I drop out again as well.
You did.
So as you can see, we've got max and min numbers and presently set to 1001. When we play the game, if we click, so it starts off at 104, we're doing a random guess. When we click higher, we go up to between 1000 and 805, higher, higher, higher. And we get to the point up here. Actually, I might have fixed this, but okay.
Rick's crapped out. He's showing us that the minimum that the system thinks we have is higher currently than the maximum, which is a state we shouldn't be in.
Yeah, so if my number was 1000, I've reached 1000. I have to click correct if I'm playing by the rules. I could get there and say, well, technically it's not 1000. We know it has to be because that was the highest number that we could have guessed. If I click higher now or lower now, it starts to break over in here.
Yeah, because the max is bigger than the min.
Maximum, it's reshaping our maximum and our minimum. And as Ben's saying, the minimum is continuing to be higher than the max.
And as Rick craps out again, this is a state we shouldn't get ourselves into. So people are asking, should we hide the higher and the lower buttons? And the answer is we could do. It's just extra code that we don't need. Rick, I think what we want to do is just recycle this whole Zoom scenario. So I'm just going to check for updates, restart it. I already did this just before the call, but no, just give it a restart and we'll see if that fixes it.
Okay.
I'll be back with you in a second. I'll keep talking to people. In fact, I can bring my face up on the screen elsewhere while I talk to people. There we go. I should be there on that. Going to just end and restart Zoom. So how are we doing? 52 people. Wow, we better get on and get some value out if there's 52 of you watching this stream. And I will get to a couple of those questions as well. So let me just get Zoom cranked back open again and then see if we can get Rick internet behaving itself. Sometimes a full restart helps. I'm going to make a breakout room, which allows us to make sure that none of our other team members pop in. I'm going to call it Twitch. Going to go in, assign Rick to it, open all the rooms, jump in there with him.
Could be the breakout room.
We could leave it without a breakout room. I don't think Sam or anybody's going to be jumping on tonight. I'm going to stop the recording. All right, Rick, you can reshare your screen. I think we're on the way.
Okay.
And we can keep going. I'm going to get one of these questions while you get to the point of resharing your screen. And no, let's finish the conversation. Let's finish where we are because you've already got it back.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that, everyone.
No, that's right. Hopefully this will be better. We've changed two things.
Yes. Okay, so the point was, when do we fix it? When do we not fix it? So from the point of view of the course, this is not something that we feel we need to introduce additional concepts and ideas and a whole bunch of extra code, a whole bunch of extra lectures. The point of this section, and this is the main thing here, is when you have the main objective, when you have your direction, you have your vision, the number one thing we have to do is to get our buttons working, to get our user interface working, and to get familiar with connecting buttons through our code so the button push calls upon our public method. So that's what we're trying to do here. And a little bit of an issue like these numbers here, I know that it really bugs those of you who are striving for perfection, wanting it to all line up exactly the way it should. But at this point, it's not a valuable use of our time. We've got other things we need to learn, other things we need to do. And this is such a powerful lesson in game development in general. It breaks my heart to say this, but you'll never, ever get your game to 100% perfect. It just never gets there. There's always some improvement, always some bug fix, always some additional features, always more polish, always more tuning that you can do. And I know if you're the sort of person who likes everything exactly buttoned up, exactly perfect, crisp, clean, 100% amazing, then game development's going to leave you feeling a little bit like at times. And you might have heard of the crunch that a lot of studios do, the infinite crunch they get into. Crunch meaning working a lot of overtime when they're trying to hit the deadline. Often that's because teams are chasing that perfect execution. And as you get later in your development cycle and you add more things and you're chasing more features and trying to make it perfect, you introduce more issues and more things that you have to, content you need to add to take into consideration the fact that you're trying to add more stuff into it. And so things get more complex and bug fixing, and so on. So it's just a little bit of a lesson, a little bit of a point why at the moment we're most likely not going to implement a fix for this. But
saying that, another lesson, of course, is that once your game's out and the public give you feedback, issuing patches is something that we do encourage. So we've had the crunch, we've got that out. So why don't we ask in the chat? It's pretty easy for us to fix this in one additional lecture on the end of the section. And we could also fix the off by one error in that same lecture. So why don't we let them, this is, ask your audience, ask your players, do you want us to show you how to make the higher and lower buttons disappear when the computer knows that it has the correct guess in this section? That's the question for the chat. Yes or no? So do it or leave it. If you pop that in the chat now, then you tell us. You decide whether it's the majority, do it or leave it. I think there's a way of doing a poll on here, but I think I've got it disabled at the moment. So we'll start rolling out polls on the Twitch channel, soon. One step at a time. Did a load of work on the Twitch channel on the weekend. If you look at the Twitch homepage below the video, you'll see a load of other stuff. So Irresistible Jelly says do it. Noob says do it. Let's see.
Are you asking about do it now or asking about do it in the course?
No, do it in the course. I think it's a video or two, so it's why not go into an end game screen? Scene changing is. Are we already doing scene changing in this? We aren't, are we?
We are, yep.
We are. Okay.
We are, but that would take a little bit of the. We would need to have a bit of feedback to the player that they reached the right number, because it's the player saying yes, I got it correct. I don't think we want to take that out of the player's control. If 495 is correct, we want them to say yes, that's correct, rather than just blunk, it goes to the next screen.
Yeah, but I think suppressing the higher and lower buttons or making them not selectable might be quite interesting.
Yep.
Okay, so I think that's probably... Thanks, Rick, for that. I really appreciate the wizard hat. People forgot about the stream, they're saying. Awesome. Okay, cool. So that's that discussed. So we will strongly consider putting in a fix for that, but just bear with us because Rick's got momentum in a different section at the moment. So we'll do that at some point. So. All right, guys, let's scroll back in the chat. Now, formulate your questions about early Unity content while I look back. Thank you very much, by the way, PH3R63000. Just subscribe using Twitch Prime. You can subscribe, by the way. I'm just going to tell you guys about the subscription tiers and what we're doing at the moment. I've just embellished our Twitch homepage. So I think I'll do this as incognito, Twitch, GameDev. Just want to talk you through a few things on the homepage. So if you look at our Twitch homepage under the video, a little bit about us right now. I'll do this as incognito, Twitch, GameDev. Just silence that. The events tab will tell you about the upcoming streams. Shortly, you're going to see a very exciting series on the RPG. For the moment, you've got the Hangout with me and this is happening now, and then game development patterns with Sam and I tomorrow evening around about the same time. Now, subscription. There's a whole bunch of people subscribing here. Thank you for that. Here are the tiers. Tier 1 subscription costs you $4.99 or nothing if you've got Twitch Prime, Amazon Prime connected to Twitch. What do you get? You get no ads. You get custom emotes. In fact, we should have GameDev.tv Leaf now. Is that working? Or not yet? Maybe you have to sign up. Somebody in the chat tried GameDev.tv Leaf. I'll see if they have approved us yet. Is that even how you do it? Do you do a colon? How do you do these custom emotes? I don't know. Somebody tell me how you do custom emotes. I think we are waiting for our custom emotes to be approved. So this is what you'll get. At Tier 1, no ads, custom emotes, and you get to support us. At Tier 2, you get chat priority in the chat, and you get linked to on this page. So you see the recent subscribers here. The people who are Tier 3 and Tier 2, they get actually linked to their Twitch profile. So that'll raise the profile of your account. And then Tier 3, we're going to reach out to these people in the next week or so. They're going to get monthly live mentoring. We're going to dive right here on Twitch and review their code live, which is a massive improvement to your coding ability. So they're the subscription tiers, just to let you know. And I think the custom emote has not yet been approved. So. Cool. I'm going to eat some ice while Rick tells you more about Unity.
You're going to eat some what?
Ice.
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 Very good. Let me have a look at questions here. So there's not a huge amount for us to tell about Unity at the moment, except for smashing through Block Breaker. Question about what people thought about the difference. Oh, internet connection unstable again. Hopefully I'm not dropping. Thank you, Zoom, for supporting us on this live stream. The difference between, I think the biggest difference between the remaster and the original course has been in the Text 101 section, where we're creating our Choose Your Own Adventure game using the scriptable objects and creating our diagram using draw.io. I've seen some just spectacularly huge, amazing, well thought out game flow diagrams in there. I'm interested if anyone's been through that process of the original Text 101 and the current Text 101. And if anyone has any comments or thoughts about that, the differences, whether they've found it easier or better or more interesting, just trying to make sure that our efforts to remaster the course and improve it are more than just updating it to 2018 as an engine, but you guys are seeing an improved usability.
It should be better in nearly every way. The code will be better. The learning journey is Unity 2018. The only thing that's a significant drawback is you've got Rick instead of me. But otherwise, I think in most ways it will be a better course. Just waiting for the insults to come back. Hey, Rick, maybe you could bring up the Text 101 so we can look at that scriptable object structure a little bit, because scriptable objects are something we're going to be using a lot more. So are the ECS and the job system, two slightly separate but very related things. Might be worth having a quick look at that, the way that works. And then answer people's questions about scriptable objects, because I know they're new. I'm going to get the Zachary Muesli's. I'm just going to say Zachary because it's not. It's Zabojci Muesli. Anyway, 2 questions. Can you tell me something about Unity certifications? I mean, for example, there are some books and courses preparing blah, blah, blah. I think that's one question, really. Well, there's 2 questions, yeah. So Unity certification, we are soon going to deprecate our Unity certification course because Unity are changing the way certification works, and the course is soon going to be not relevant. So we're going to deprecate that course and consider creating new courses for the things like the programmer track and the other Unity tracks they have. But it lasted a long time. It was locked to the version 4 point whatever we used for a long time. And how does this relate to optimization? Personally, has a great temptation to avoid public fields and download everything by hand in code. Is that bad practice? No, avoiding public fields is not bad practice. It's good practice. And worry about performance when you have performance issues or the performance profiler tells you to worry about them. There'd be my bits of advice on there. I'm just going to scroll down and see if there are any subscriber questions we've missed. And also...
Interesting side question about why do we stand when we do things. Both Ben and I have desks that can be sitting desks and standing desks, because it's good for you to mix it up and not just sit all day long. At the moment, I'm standing because I've just woken up, and that's why I'm a little bit foggy in the head.
This is hard. This is me trying to stand and match my standing rate so that the background just slightly strangely goes down. There you go. I just stood up. That was amazing. Sorry, Rick, you were saying.
No worries. But it's good to stand from time to time. The question is, well, but why is Ben sitting at the moment? It's like, well, it's late in his day. He's a little bit old. He kind of loses steam by the end of the day. His poor old weary legs, let out on him. So go easy on him if he's sitting down. Don't give him too much grief about the fact that he should be standing.
My poor old weary legs were just doing straight twist, half and full twisting back somersaults on the trampoline with my daughter. I was doing round off flick tuck back. I was doing all sorts of things. So you can go and take a flying beep up against a rubber beep. I was eating ice. Yes, indeed. Michael Bridges subscribed. Look at that. That's like incest. Michael Bridges has just subscribed to our channel with Twitch Prime. Thank you, Mikey. A few cents of that will be coming back to you next month. So
Unless there's a different Michael Bridges out there, that'd be Inception, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be awesome.
Okay, for my question before
you even took the time to type that I'm sitting because I'm old and fragile. So not only did you insult me in voice, but in text at the same time. I'm a sensitive man. This is dangerous. I could end up just like crying for the rest of the stream.
So ESA Spectrum, I really like the new Text 101 course. In comparison, scriptable objects made the prospect of creating more than a bare-bones state machine much more appealing. Totally, there's some people out there in the original course that used the type it all in the script and made amazing constructions. And I think that was a great effort to do that, to work through a tool that was not necessarily perfect for creating something huge. And I think those folks are now looking at the current system saying, now look what I can do.
Awesome. I'm requesting some water. Mikey's saying this is great. Sorry he can't back us up. Yeah, so he can't actually be here in voice tonight. But Mikey's physically going to be down here with me from tomorrow. So he will be next to me somewhere here or here. I'm telling you, there's a mozzie in here. Come on. Back in a sec. Come here.
So something from the Text 101 section that I found it's a little bit tricky. We use the word state. This in the Instructor Hangout. It's not a really huge point, but I think something that... Just firing up. Am I sharing my screen? Yes, I am. something that we didn't talk about a lot, but we spend a lot of time with naming. We spend a lot of time trying to name things accurately. The section that I'm going through now, I'm looking at naming something. No, sorry, this is a redo that I went and did on one of the previous sections where we're looking at a for loop. And often for loops are written with the I equals this, I plus plus. We just have the I as the name for the variable, and which is okay. That's a standard convention of just using an I or using a J or using a single letter. But wherever possible, we try not to do that, just because when you're looking back over your code in the future, you're not exactly sure what I means. Even if you're pretty sure, well, I'm just incrementing my index in here. That's all I'm doing. But to actually explicitly write index, we feel is more powerful than just writing I. And same with any of our variables that we've named in here. And something from text 101, yep, Ben's going to write out over here, going to write out the for loop. Something from text 101, it probably was, sorry, that was the additional that we made, the addition we made to text 101 to fix an issue that we had with the array out of index error. So some of you might have found that array out of index error where if you had, just reading what Ben's writing on the screen here, making sure he's not writing anything inappropriate about Rick on the screen. Could be doing
Rick,
that.
I'm far more mature than that. I was just going to support your point and say it particularly matters when you get things like nested loops and people are tempted to say for I in something or other and then for J, and then they make mistakes with like whether they're dealing with rows or columns when you think it's obvious. Use things that are meaningful. So big tick for that.
Yep. So something from text 101 that you could do.
He's had a lot of practice, by the way, Mark. Mark's saying he's amazed at your ability to ignore me trying to kill mosquitoes with my flip-flops and the like. Well,
yeah, thanks for that, Mark. That's a couple of years of practice ignoring Ben.
It's been so worth it, though.
It has, ignoring you. So this is one variable in our text 101 that I think we could have renamed to make it a little bit more readable. We're calling it state. So the whole way throughout, everything's a state. Technically, whoops, wrong window. Technically, I don't think what we've got in here is states. This is a bit of a contentious conversation, but let me just go to my states in here. See all of our asset files in here. This is like, it's a room or it's a story moment or it's a story node or it's a story point. Technically, what we're trying to do in this particular section is introduce you to state machines and how things are in one state at a time. There's conditions to go to other states and there's a flow to it. For readability, if you wanted to do this, for readability, you could, instead of calling it state throughout, you could call it story node in this point here. So it's a little bit cleaner, a little bit more understandable about what the actual scriptable object is referring to, what this asset's referring to. It's referring to one place where we're using state, because we use state to refer to our other script. It's the state.cs. We're using state to refer to the starting state, to the particular states we're going through. There's a lot of state in there. So I think we could have just, or you could enhance that a little bit just by calling that something a slight bit more end use of what that is.
What would you call it then, Rick? As naming so important, how would we improve upon the name state for what this thing is?
I think I'd call it story node.
Okay.
So then, story node equals starting. We could call it starting story node, or I think starting state is still fine in this instance. But this one in here, because we've got state and then state, I think it could be state and then story node. And then when we're down here, we've got next states, just to be very clear of, well, it's the next point in the story. It's the next room in the story. If you've got a room-based game, then it could be, story room, or it just could be room that you're using. So for me, I'd say something like story node.
Story node's a good name. Yeah, room's not so good because a story state, possibly story state. Yeah. Story state would be fine as well, because you can be in the same room in a different state, right? You can be in a room having looked in a mirror or having discovered some secret or having X, Y, or Z. So you can be a different state in the same room. That's quite possible. So people are saying they're getting some echoing. So let's just see if I can see what's wrong, why they're getting echoing. I cannot see an obvious reason why they'd be getting echoing. Who's echoing, my voice or Rick's?
Yeah, you're hearing Ben double, you're hearing me double. I've got my speakers right next to my microphone, so that could be something. Usually Zoom's pretty good, it cancels that out. Yeah.
Okay, so we've
just
got Obo's coming in here saying, talking about comments. We've had a few discussions recently. Not stream echo. Oh, echo was mentioning Mark, and I was saying the same thing. Ah, okay, cool. All right, awesome. So it's not a technical problem with our stream. All right, so comments, naming conventions, variables, blah blah blah. It's important. Comments go out of sync immediately. You write them; they're immediately out of date. So we tend to use comments to justify why we're doing something, because that tends to move slower than what we're doing, and try and make the code as self-explanatory as possible from a what point of view. So.
Down here's a good point. If we were to say a comment for managed state, previously we had our if statements, our else if statements for player pushes 1, do this, player pushes 2, do this. In the last few days, we've added a lecture which is showing this for loop and doing it in a much cleaner way to say, if we have the, jump back over, whoops, wrong one again. I'm going to close you. We don't need Number Wizard UI anymore. It's great how you can have multiple instances of Unity open now using Hub. I really like that. So in here and I might have just crashed my Unity. Okay, for this state or this story node, we have just one element. And if the player pushes key number 2 or key number 3, that's when we get our array out of index issue, because previously in our code, we had those 3 options. If the player pushes 1, then that's state 0, because our array starts at 0. If the player pushes 2, that's state 1. If the player pushes 3, that's state 2. So we had that in there, and the system was looking for, well, I don't know where that state is if the player pushed that key press. So that's why we've introduced this for loop here, so that we don't have that issue. There's only the number of options that we have as potential states here. So if there's only one element, then our for loop is looking through and saying, well, I only found one element, therefore you can only push keyboard number 1. For a more detailed explanation, go have a look at the lecture, but that's just bringing you up to speed on that. In terms of the comments comment, we wrote in here something like player pushes key to move to next state with 3 options. Like, for example, if you wrote that, then when we changed from our else if approach or our if else approach to this approach, this comment may or may not be relevant anymore. Well, we might have 3 options, we might have 4 options, we might have 5 options. So just to Ben's point, you have to add an extra layer of thinking about exactly what is my comment going to be. How can I make my comment future-proof? The better way is just to make your code future-proof. So you can read your code and be like, that's what I'm trying to do here. That's very clear. I can see it's named index instead of being named just I, and I can see that it's to do with the input and the key press. Oh, okay, I understand what it is. So that's the goal throughout all of our courses, is to make the code so readable that you don't need comments. I'm pretty sure the comment about comment was to do with good for why, not how, which is...
Yeah, this of course only works here. This bit only works because we are saying to people that the buttons you can press in this game to go to the next state are the buttons 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And the key codes for those, whatever keycode.alpha1 is, whatever that is, let's imagine it's keycode. It's probably something like keycode 127, but who knows? Don't really care. What we're adding to it is the index. So in your inspector, you've got the next possible states, and this next state index 0, then you've got the next state index 1 and the next state index 2 here. So what you add to it is the index here. And so if you add 0, you get the key code. You get the same key code. If you add 1 to it, you get the key code plus 1. If you add 2 to it, you get the key code plus 2. That's what's going on, but it's only going to work if the way that you transition to the next state is based on numbers on the keypad. If you want to be able to say something more intuitive, like I for igloo or P for pick up the thing or D for, dog, then you're going to need to do it a different way and do explicit mapping. So what we've done is we've turned it upside down here to how it was before. Previously, we were going through all the key codes, 1, 2, 3, and then trying to match them to states. We're now going through all the states and trying to match them to key codes. So there you go.
Yeah, awesome.
I hope that's my wife in the garden with the torch.
So those are the 2 main things that we've changed recently. It's adding the for loop to fix the issue that we had with the array out of index. And also in Number Wizard, we've talked about that in terms of the issue that you might be having about the numbers getting a little bit out of whack as the player gets to the very end when they should have done their guess. They're the 2 main things, and they're the main things that I've heard people talking about and asking about in the course at the moment. So probably a good time to take some questions about
Yeah, got a couple here. By array out of index, of course, Rick means array index out of array. I've just gone a bit funny, so I will just let it come back. Okay, so Bindy's asking about the pointing device I'm using. So I can show you. Can I? No, this is dangerous. I have to move to the side and then point the thing down. I'm using one of these. It's a Wacom pointing device like so. And then I have a pen, which I can't show you because I'm holding it. Yes, I can.
You'd be far away from the microphone now as well.
So I'm just showing them. So I know you couldn't really hear me there, but what I'm using is a Wacko, basically. I had a blue screen of death through the screen. Yeah, that's because I put my mouse in the very bottom right-hand corner, and that turns my screen off. So that's the effect of that. So yeah, that's what I'm using. So when my mouse moves around in a slightly more organic way and I'm able to write on the screen quicker, it's because I'm using a trackpad. So how are you using Blender? I'm personally not using Blender at the moment, but the other useful input device, by the way, when we're on that, it's useful, but it's also useless. It's cool, but it's useless. There's 3D Connection 3D Mouse. It's pretty amazing. It's a device that can detect you pulling it up, pushing it down, translating it in any of the directions, or even twisting it. So it's pretty cool. But the only thing that it works out the box with really properly is Google Earth. So I could show them that. I might show them that in a minute just for a bit of fun. But yeah, that's the only thing I've found where it works out the box. Other programs it might work with, but you often have to use plugins, and it's quite inconvenient. So, and a 3-button mouse is a very good idea for Blender, as I'm sure Mikey will tell you. It's also a good idea for just game engines in general. In fact, I'm using a Mac, and I have all Mac accessories apart from that, which is a funny vertical 3-button mouse, because I do like that for game engines. So. Mike's not a big fan of the 3D Explorer here. I really like it for Google Earth, but that's about all. I can hear that Mozzie again. I'm going to go on a Mozzie hunt. Rick, you're currently not sharing your screen, so if you want to, then go ahead, and we'll get the next stream of questions going.
Yeah, let me have a look at the questions, unless you have something specific you wanted me to share on my screen. Let me have a look at questions. If you're using meaningful naming conventions for variables and functions methods, do you still feel like it's important to comment? I think we answered that one, is we try to avoid comments as much as possible and have awesome code. Just looking for questions.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. Or pointing device. Okay, Ben's just answered that. I think I'll ask my question again because it's too long. Do you prefer more C# or C++ for creating games? Well, okay, so we're here to talk about Unity for this particular live stream, and so we're talking about C#. At the end of the day, it's all about getting comfortable achieving what it is you're trying to achieve with your goal. So for me, I'm a game developer. I'm a game designer, game developer. That's what I love to do. That's what my focus is. And so I usually answer questions through that lens. And I think if you're sitting there saying, well, how do I get better at a thing? How do I do more of the thing? Should I do A, B, or C? It's really important for you to know what's your end goal. So if you're watching this at the moment and your dream is to be a game developer, is to make great games, then you need to get in and make games. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing it in Unity or Unreal or Godot. It just is important to make games and to get strong at that and the craft of it, and to go through all the process of how do I design something that's going to be interesting, a something thing? How do I design something that's going to be interesting? Then how do I implement that? How do I solve the problems that come up? How do I get feedback from the player? You need to go through that cycle a couple of times, and you'll get to a point where you say, okay, the game I wish to, and usually if you the best tool to make that particular project, that is a great way of going about doing it. So you can say, I want to make a platformer. What's the best tool to do that? I want to make a first-person shooter. What's the best tool to do that? And if you're really passionate about the genre or the type of game you want to make, then that might require you going and learning a different language or learning a different engine. So that's one way to go about it. Say, what do I really want to make? The other way to go about doing it, which I believe in this way as well, is I'm just going to get very good at one particular.
Oh, we're losing Rick occasionally. He's going to say you're going to get very good at one particular thing, but then he crapped out. So I know exactly what he's going to say. He's back, maybe. So carry on, Rick.
Am I back?
Very good at one particular, and then you went like this, and you were going to say thing, and then
one particular thing, one particular engine, and one particular language. So we're talking about Unity, C Sharp. So get really good at Unity. Unity's using C Sharp. Get very strong at that, and then to say, "What can I do with my knowledge?" And shooter Overwatch clone to get there and say, I know how to do this. How can I use Unity to its full potential? Unity can do lots and lots and lots of things. You can probably find an example of every genre that's using Unity, and you love it and live with it and are comfortable with the strengths and the weaknesses, and you don't wish for, but I wish it was a little bit more Unreal. You say, well, it's not a little bit more Unreal. It's a lot of Unity, and you just own that. I think you can do that for your entire career and be happy. Now, if your goal is to get a job in a game studio, for example, and you know that that particular game studio you're interested in says, we need you to have C++ experience, then you need to go and learn C++. You need to create projects using C++, and you need to be strong in it. You can't just turn up and say, well, I'm kind of good at C# and I'm a fast learner, because employers don't want fast learners. They want people who have already learned how to do a particular thing that they need them to do on day one, and are willing to get better and improve and understand their systems and processes. So
quick plug for your jobs course there, Rick. I was going to say that you were about to start talking about day one value. The thing is that Rick and I know exactly what we're both about to start talking about, and it gets really quite boring listening to each other after a while. But you guys, it's all new, so it's awesome. It means that when his internet stops working because he's Australian, because he's from Australia, no, because he's in Australia, then I can fill in, which is great. Thank you very much, by the way, for your subscription, Emil the Gamer HD. None of this SD gaming. Bit disappointed it's not UHD, but hey, maybe next year.
That's a type of milk, isn't it? UHD? Or is that only in Australia?
That's UHT, Rick. That's ultra high temperature rather than ultra high definition.
Okay,
It sounds similar to an Australian, but
high fidelity cow's lactation that you're drinking there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, getting a dig from Mike, who's now gone from Mac to PC and now back to Mac and PC. And I don't even know where he is now. So he's now currently just got rid of his Mac to go back to a PC for about the 15th time. And so now he's anti-Mac again. He's very fickle. I have been on Macs continuously for decades and haven't been happier. So, no, it's not because I'm on Mac.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about what's coming up in the 2D remaster of the course. I'm diving into Block Breaker now. And I think in terms of the underlying code, it's very similar. I've had a couple of people, Ben, of late ask, should I continue to push on with the old content or should I wait for the new content? And I think you don't want to delay your learning journey. You don't want to delay getting in there and getting your hands dirty and doing stuff. So if you're eager, then do the old content, participate in that. It's still the code structure, the C#, like C# hasn't changed with Unity 2018. It's still C#, the core of C#, but there's some things that you won't be able to do. And to have your code work, there might be a couple of things. I don't know exactly what, Ben, you might know off the top of your head, but things like this dot game object. Or
no, it's going to be the assumption that certain components like rigid body are available immediately. So in the really old course, we'd have just typed rigid body, and Unity would have had a shortcut to that. Now all the components are decoupled. You have to go find them. So you have to go rigid body equals, so rigid body with a capital, rigid body with a small letter equals get component rigid body. You just have to write that and put that as an instance variable before you can then use it further down your code. They're the sort of things. There are a load of other differences, but also remember we've got a bunch of other courses. So the other strategy is just to do the 3D course or the RPG or one of our other courses. And Rick's going great guns at remastering this course. So if you finish the rest of our content that's interesting to you, then maybe take the old content. But it's probably the last thing I'll do after all the rest of our content because Rick's motoring away at making new stuff. So thank you very much, Deck221974 for subscribing with Twitch Prime, by the way.
Yeah.
No more ads for you.
I was going to say, I think it's totally awesome to do the 2D and the 3D course in parallel. We have people ask, I'm not trying to say, hey, go buy the course. This is a lot more of people are getting confused to this. Is if you take section one of the 3D course, section 2 of the 2D course, section 2 of the 3D course, and so on like that, your learning journey will be in parallel. There'll be a lot of double up and overlap, but I think that's a really great way to reinforce those principles. So you know them really well. You have double the challenges double the examples, and you get it from the conversation from two different directions. So that is what I would do. If you hit the end of our current remaster, I would bounce between the two courses.
Yeah, awesome. I've just noticed Shablo had been holding the record for the number of cheers of this channel until Bindi has just gone and trumped him. So use your bits and cheer us along, because you can't be having Bindi sitting on that top spot for too long. This is kind of pathetic in a way, isn't it? Like trying to run a leaderboard for who's spending little tiny cents of money cheering us. But on the other hand, it's a bit of fun. So you can see it as pathetic if you're an old 40-year-old grumpy gamer. We don't have grumpy old gamer on here. Or you can see it as a bit of fun if you're one of the younger lot, or just younger at heart. So anyway, I think it's a bit of fun, personally, to have a leaderboard of bits. If you haven't discovered them, click here and use your bits to cheer us on and stuff. I think it's kind of interesting.
So, Ben, what do we know?
Like
what do we know about the new changes to the? Are we calling it the job system, the ECS, the EJS?
Yeah, well, there's both. Let's introduce. We're going to introduce them in the course at some point. Basically, this is a way of making code that can scale better across multiple threads and cores. And it means we need to separate our data from our logic a little bit more. And we will find a section in one of the courses soon where we'll start using the job system, and we'll consider using the job system like ongoing. So
if I don't use it now, is everything going to break? And do I have to use it or else? Is the old way going to work? And can I?
Yeah, the old way is going to work. It's possible they'll deprecate the old way, so we do need to start looking at it. You know, we don't need to jump on it like crazy, but we do need to start looking at it, and we'll do that from probably from Laser Defender onwards. When we code review that, we'll look at how we would start to do it. Because bear in mind, it's all very, very new, and you know, up until very recently, you had to be downloading separate modules, and it wasn't built tightly into Unity. So we need to do it at the right time. We don't need to jump on it the moment it comes out. So.
Yeah, we found that I saw that a lot with TileMap when we were working on Tilevania in the 3D course. TileMap has been pretty buggy and up and down, and little things like the camera clicking back from orthogonal to perspective and just not knowing how to change it. That in the first version or two of that, it was still pretty good, but buggy enough that it caused issues. So generally we wait until something is at least in an official release before we go and teach it in the course, or else we're going to be teaching you a whole bunch of workarounds and fixes that
which will then go out of date. It's just not worth it. So we will get to it. It will become part of the way we think about everything moving forward. We're just not going to jump on it like too fast. Cool. So we have a QSTN from ESA Spectrum here. So the priority in the questions goes subscribers first, people who bother to put QSTN in front second, and then all the others when I get to see them third. So we'll go for this one here. Do you think you'll ever address threading of any of our units? Yes, I do think we will. As we build out our base to intermediate content, which will be possibly we'll need it in the RPG, but I think it's unlikely. So it'll probably be a little bit after that. Another question here from Terra Vice. Has the team considered having mini tutorials explaining the concepts as singular items with some more in-depth explanations of the workings in code? Possibly on YouTube. What we are considering doing is when we get to a generic topic that we know that we have covered several times before in other courses, we may start to put those into YouTube videos. Also put the YouTube video in the Udemy course, but also ship it out to YouTube and start thinking about those being a bit self-contained. But we want to make sure that we don't mess up the journey of the main course, right? But if it makes sense in the main course to suddenly get there and say, hey, let's look at, structuring your class like this for ECS or something, and we can make a good YouTube video and a good self-contained thing and then carry on without interrupting the flow, then we'll start doing it.
Yeah, I think a good example of that is source control. We've talked about source control. I'd be interested, would anyone be interested in us doing an hour's YouTube video or even a stream on source control, GitHub?
Yeah, we could do a stream on source control.
Yeah.
Now, there's a starting point, and then once we've got all the questions from people, we could then put it on YouTube. There's two ways we can do this stream / YouTube in my mind. One, we could stream, get a load of feedback, and then polish that up into a separate YouTube video that we make from scratch. The other way around is we could make a nice polished video for YouTube, premiere it here on Twitch, so play it and take questions while it's playing, and then put it on YouTube afterwards. So there's a couple of options. So a couple of people are completely lost on Git and whatnot. Yeah, so we could definitely do a live stream. I think that'd be easier than a Git system. A YouTube video is what I'm trying to say, because What I'm struggling to do is to try and find a project that makes it worthwhile. So I think we'll just dive in and do a stream on it. We'll do a focus. We'll schedule that up after this one evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll take some actual stuff we're working on. But actually, with the RPG, there you go. What we'll do is I'll do it. We'll be doing collaborative coding on the RPG, and we'll dedicate a stream or two to just GitHub, source tree, etc.
Yeah, good one.
So, a few more questions. I did see a non-subscriber, non-QSTN question somewhere a bit further up. Will there be any lessons past lesson 6 from MPB Maybe that's Mike. I don't know. Will there be anything past lesson 6? Yes. What we plan to do in the 3D course is put Zombie Runner back into it, which we haven't yet done, and we'll do that when we finish the 2D course, right, Rick?
That is correct.
Can you do all 3 Unity courses in parallel? By 3, what do you mean, Bindi? Do you mean the 2D Unity course, the 3D Unity course, and the RPG? What's the third one? I'm assuming you mean the 2D and the 3D. What's the third one? I'll put the links in here. There's the 2D course. There's the 3D course. And let's just get him to qualify that question. How is it over there, Rick? Is it plunging into the depths of winter in Australia at the moment?
Yeah, it is. Although I'm in the north of Australia, so it's plunging into the depths of, I think I woke up to 15 degrees this morning.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, unit testing was covered in detail in Bowlmaster. That was the whole point of Bowlmaster, and Bowlmaster will stay around in the archive course, in the graveyard course. We've got all of the content from the 2D course you're going to be able to keep in a separate side course. So yeah. I'm not in Australia. Sovredbit. I'm not in Australia. I am in England. Have been to Australia.
Maybe he's referring to me. I do see that from time to time. People talking about something that I've said in a lecture, and they're like, I really like the way Ben said such and such. It breaks my heart a little bit that people think that I'm Ben.
They just assume that all the good work comes out of me, and then they just misdirect it like that.
Well,
you do look a bit more similar now. My Nest Cam said it thinks it spotted a familiar face the other day. I just walked through my kitchen, and it put the picture of you up.
Put a picture of me up.
It thinks I look like you. That's just
Look at that. So it clearly your haircut has slowly over time. our haircuts have cycled together.
They have, yes.
Congratulations on that, by the way, embracing the receding hairline.
It's no problem. It's been receding for decades. It's just I've given up. Happens to us all, apart from to those who it doesn't. So we have a Keith. Thank you very much for being a subscriber. Do we need to do anything active to pick up the new 2D content, or is the course updated automatically? We're just replacing the content that's there. So all the first 3 sections have all been replaced, and you're working on Block Breaker now, Rick, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And you so soon will be. Sorry.
I was going to say what I've been doing is, so if we say here's the original section 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, I'm creating the new section 1, and that pushes everything back. So the original section 1 is now section 2. And then when I finish new section 1, I unpublish the old section 1. So then it goes new section 1, old section 2. And then I create the new section 2. And that means that when I finish that, I unpublish the old section 2. So I go new 1, new 2, old 3, old 4, and so on. And very shortly, we're going to be taking all of the old unpublished ones and putting them into a standalone course. So you can go and access all of those. I think I'll continue with this notion of leave it in the current course until I get to it. I don't think we want to take all the section like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and put them all in the old course now, so that if someone wants to follow through new, old, they can do that if they want in this course. When we've done everything, then all the old content will be in the old course. And so apologies if you've been working through the old content and it's disappeared. We're waiting on Udemy to just do one last flicking of a switch for us so that we can push all of the content into another place and let you guys know how to access all of that old content that we've unpublished.
Awesome. So a couple more questions. So Deck is asking, just bought the Pass to the Unity Cert course. You say it won't be relevant soon. Should you return it and wait for the new one? I don't know exactly when Unity are stopping the current certification. Let me have a look. Let me have a look. Unity Certified Developer. It's still there. There it is. So Yeah, it's the certified programmer and certified 3D artist courses that we're not specifically covering, but we still are preparing you for this Unity certified developer course. So yeah, get it done quickly, get it taken, and then we will take that course off the market at the right time, and then we will consider creating new ones. But it could be a long gap, so just crack on with it. Deck is the point, and go and get yourself certified as quick as possible. Terra Vice says, sounds complicated. Maybe you should make a video about source control. Look, there are loads of videos about source control scattered through our courses, but it's such a big topic. It's not just one video; it's loads of videos. It's 1 a.m. in Russia. Wow, your dedication goes before you. So thank you for being with us at 1 a.m. That is completely awesome. I wonder if there's anything else technical they want to see. If we want to get back in the engine for a minute, have a little look at a couple of other more specific questions. What are your burning questions? What are the things you get stuck on or confused by, guys, in beginner Unity content? That's the focus of this stream. Is there anything in the Cert course that isn't covered in other Unity courses? Keith, SCH? Yes, plenty, actually. The Cert course touches... hey, thank you. Oh, wow, somebody's just gone straight to the top of the leaderboard with a cheers there. Triopticon. It's got to be Triopticon. Awesome, Triopticon. Thank you. Moderator, subscriber, the lot, a star. Anyway, so yes, there's actually plenty covered in the Cert course. Plenty about sound, plenty about all sorts of things that aren't in any of the other courses. So we actually touch every bit of the engine, as it was in Unity 4.6 anyway, in the Cert course. So at least everything that's in the curriculum, which is most of the engine. So definitely worth a look. Any plans to translate our courses? They already are being machine translated into various different languages. That translation method sucks a little bit. Hand translating captions is something we're interested in and trying to work with Udemy on. Voice translating, I'm not so sure about the speech because all of the APIs and all the code are in English anyway. And I don't know how helpful that would be. I'd be interested to know if people really want that. But yeah, we'll see. You look like you're scanning for more questions, Rick.
I'm just because I had an interesting out there as a prelude to what we're doing in the block breaker section. Now I'm just looking for how I share my screen. There we are. Share screen.
Okay. Boom, there you go. I'll put my video
Boom.
on.
So a lot of my goal was to create my name in block breaker so I could smash my name to pieces. Slight technical issue here with my blocks. I've got them a little bit at the wrong size, pixels per unit. That's okay, we'll leave it there for now. So one of the things in the previous block breaker, the approach that we had was a certain color meant a certain number of hits on the tile. So I'm just going to go to my other scene here. This is me just messing around with it at the moment. This is not final what will be in the course. So in previous, we had that there was a row of, for example, green and then a row of yellow and a row of red. Green meant 1 hit and it was killed. Yellow meant 2 hits and it was destroyed. And red meant 3 hits. And I looked at that for quite some time and decided to go away from that approach of color coding equal number of hits because there's a very specific need, a very specific moment that the player would, I think, appreciate at the... But then after that, I don't think information, you're going to bonk the ball towards anything that needs to be hit and destroyed. So color coding is cool. It's one way that you could do it. We're not removing that as a way. You could still do that, but it's not baked into the code. It's not necessary. But I've gone for a system where the designer or you guys, when you're creating this, can have whatever color you want and you can have whatever rules you want about how many hits that tile takes so that you can make interesting patterns and interesting designs without being constrained by number of hits. So that's just a little bit of a design conversation that sometimes I think when we're teaching, we don't go through all that little nuance of Ben and I have talked about this for hours and and about it and waxed lyrical about it. But this is something that I've been doing myself, just thinking about how do I make my scene more interesting? How do I make this whole approach more engaging to a player? And I want to be able to just duplicate this, move it to a different spot, change the colors of it by clicking on them, so this becomes whatever color blue over here so that I can make different colors and patterns and shapes and ideas for the player. Now, I did that in a very quick way. I didn't snap it to the grid. Snapping the grid is useful. The way that I've been snapping to the grid is using the V key. This is not as good a science as having our grid snapping set up. I do have grid snapping set up, but I broke it just recently while I was doing some prototyping. So my goal here is to go for easy creativity as opposed to perfect matching of the rules for the player. And that's something that I want to encourage you to do throughout every section you work on in our courses and your own games. Just because there's a rule there doesn't mean you have to abide by it. Try breaking the rule, try pushing it. Now, when it comes to writing code, things like this is how you should name your variables, or this is how you should write your code so it reads well. You don't want to go and break those because that's the engine, that's the foundations of what you're creating. But when it comes to the design side of things, you don't have to do things exactly the way we're doing them. You don't have to follow exactly the rules that we're following, because then you won't discover an amazing thing that you stumble along upon accidentally, and you might make something that is just exactly the same as ours, but then it's like everyone else in the course who's creating exactly the same as ours. So push yourself, create something different, create something fresh, play around with things, see what happens if you get there and say, what if I just scale this? I know Rick said you probably shouldn't scale it, but what if I just scale it and have one huge block in the middle, and then I give that, for example, 20 points that you have to bonk into it 20 times to kill it? Is that fun? Is that interesting? Yes or no? And then use the is it interesting and do I enjoy doing it as your yardstick for whether or not you should do it. And yeah, you might have gone and broken the scale a little bit, because now we've got the scale of 8.4, and what does that really mean? And if I was to go and change my tiles, is that going to scale properly? Sometimes you can live with a little bit of that as you're experimenting and prototyping and playing around with your game. And if you like it, and if it's something you want to leave in there, then you can look to see how you tighten it up so it's a little bit more scalable in the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah, find the interesting first, then worry about the system behind it. It's all good stuff. All right, so we had a question here about switch statements. Yeah, not sure why you're thinking you can only switch on integers. You should be able to switch on most types in C# and Unity. Remember also that if and else statements are arguably preferable to switch. Switch is okay, but because of this requirement to include a break statement, and if you forget the break statement, it falls through to the next condition. You end up with almost just the same number of lines, depending on how you do your curly braces, between switches and ifs. Not really sure of the benefit of a switch over an if in that case. Typically, when you're switching on, when all your if is doing is switch. I won't use the word switching, but is choosing between different values of one particular thing, then it seems to be more suited to to a switch. And when you're doing logic, you use an if, but really you could just use if else everywhere. So and O Productions, love our content, thank you very much. 3D courses created in Unity 2017. I'm not sure, so red bit there, what question you're asking about 3D course. The 3D course is created in Unity 2017, but there's hardly any difference to Unity 2018, so it's not at all out of date. We'll be covering Mechanim in the 3D course, probably in Zombie Runner, when we get back to doing that later in the year. Try and get back through some of the older posts. Is it worth redoing the content if you already did the old version of the 2D course? Probably, if you think you need the revision. If you don't, just crack on into some of our more advanced stuff. I think that's got most of the questions. If not, please repost them. That would be cool. I think we won't go on too much longer. Keep the stream a little bit tight tonight. I think it's a great idea to do one on version control. So the RPG, the deal with the RPG is I'm going to start a live stream series for the RPG probably as early as next week. And you will see me prototyping a lot on Twitch, the behind the scenes of the RPG. And then I'm waiting for Sam to become available and for Rick to become available so those guys can pick up that baton and I can then gallop off into the sunset with Mikey doing Python and the machine learning. So I'm going to be picking that up next week. From a prototyping point of view, you won't see any new content in the courses, unfortunately, for many weeks after that, but we're going to get to it as quick as we can. But you'll start seeing momentum from like next week.
How do people participate in the live streams? Do they need to be part of the course? Can they just be a subscriber here? We don't have any rules on that yet, do we?
No rules on it. I mean, if you're a subscriber here, you're going to get to ask questions about it and interact with it. If you are on the course, you'll get more out of it. I'll be posting links to where we are in the version control and people can follow along, whatever. But it's not going to be the learning journey, the streams. The streams are just going to be, this is how I'm fumbling through, trying to create a very anally retentive version of the code base and get it really nice. So it'll be a completely different set of learning watching that versus watching the actual course content when it comes out. The live stream videos, we're a Twitch partner, thank you Twitch, so they will be available for 60 days automatically. I've just exported our first video to the YouTube channel. It's a one-click export from Twitch for us to YouTube. I did one about array indexes that Rick and I were talking about. The thing we started talking at the beginning of this session about. That's now over on our YouTube channel, so...
That's cool. Really cool comment here. I watched the new content at 1.5 speed. It would have been 2, but Rick's English, yeah, thank you. Being Australian. I had a conversation with a guy.
You had a conversation with a guy, but froze. You had a conversation with a guy and then you froze. Not sure what's up with your internet.
And then I froze. And am I unfrozen again yet?
You are unfrozen now. One day he'll move back to a sensible part of the world, though.
Yes, one day. So what was I saying? Oh, yes, had a conversation with a guy who watched our courses, but we hadn't spoke before, and we had a conversation via Zoom. Didn't break as much as it's breaking today. And at one point he said to me, it's really strange listening to you at regular speed, because I've so now. So that's probably how a lot of you guys know us as well. You know us as Fast Ben and Fast Rick.
Yeah, I think we're both pretty fast without being sped up, but...
It's true.
Yeah, well, me at double speed, that could be a real pain in the ass. If I start really speaking fast, then it's really hard to keep up with what I'm saying. So if you were to double my speed, then it would really be
excited about something. You're like, blah, 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 blah.
I was doing that on purpose. I do try to slow down sometimes and put a break in there from a cadence point of view. But yeah, when I get excited, I blabble off rather fast. Cool. Yeah, irresistible jelly. I had that. My mum told me that if the wind changed, our face would end up stuck like that. What a ridiculous thing to tell a child. But there you go. It's at this stage in the stream, probably want to remind you guys of a few things. I think nearly all of you are on the forums, but keep using those forums. They're awesome. Keep sharing there. Remember, you can embed your Sketchfab models in the 3D parts. Remember that a great way to ask a more technical question is to form the question on the forum with code formatting, inline images, etc. Slowing down to do that really makes you think about where you're stuck, and often you'll rubber chicken it. You'll solve your own problem as if you were talking to a rubber chicken next to your monitor. Number 2, go post a link to that forum question over in Discord in the live chat and get some immediate feedback. Do the people over there the service of having laid out the question nicely on the forum first. You know, it's got nice code formatting, it's got images, but also you've taken the time to slow down and think about what your problem is, and you've made sure that it's not kind of an obvious answer. So do that. That would be awesome. Keep buying our courses. Right now there's a coupon code called Journey, which you can use for all of the courses. If I spelt Journey right, then that's good. If I didn't spell it right, and that will give you a low price on all the courses. Also, do follow us on Kickstarter, because a new Kickstarter will come the moment we're starting to make progress on the RPG. Now, I want to show you something. Somebody said they wanted to see the learning journey. If I can just try and get my sidebar up here again. Show sidebar, there you go. They wanted to see the learning journey for Unreal. I'll show them all of the recent learning journey images that Mike and Rick made. I think I did send these out by a Udemy promotional announcement, but nobody gets those these days, unfortunately. Please sign back into the Udemy promotional announcements, guys, and tell all your friends to. It really help us. If you get spammed by all those other lesser instructors on Udemy, then you can just, on those calls, you either archive their courses or you just say, I don't want to hear from this instructor again. But try and make sure you're opted into Udemy promo announcements, or we can't get hold of you about the new stuff. Anyway, rant over. Where am I? What am I looking for? I'm looking for the new learning journeys. Here you go. So just bring these up real quick. I'll just go through them in the order they are on my machine. We've got the art track here. So this is the game dev artist. I'll put that down there. So if you're on an art track, probably start with Blender. You'll learn basic and advanced modeling, UV unwrapping, particle effects, exporting to game engines, etc. Then move to GIMP. Briefly, short course, get some 2D skills. Then Blender characters, completely complementary with the main Blender course. This is about animation, rigging, low poly characters, etc. And then consider get a job if that's what you're planning on doing. So that's the game artist track. I don't think we can put these. You know what? These are going to end up in a blog post soon. So that's where you'll be able to get longer term access to them. Rick, do you want to just talk them through the open source developer track? If I share my screen for a second, then you can hear Rick's voice for a moment.
Jolly good. There we go. Godot, I think you guys have no doubt been aware of the Godot Kickstarter that was successfully funded. Great excitement there. And we were talking before about why surely just do Unity and stick with Unity. We're having a Unity conversation here. There's a lot of values to doing something open source, particularly if you see that you're going to make a whole bunch of money. Then Godot, GIMP, Blender, they're engines that aren't going to take any money from you. Unity at some point says, well, you've got to pay us some money. So there's a strength in terms of being open source. If you really want to get your hands into the engine and change things deep, then you have access to the code within the engine. So Godot is a similar to Unity, but a lot of differences, obviously, as an engine. Then GIMP as a Photoshop alternative, 2D art creation. Very useful. GIMP's very useful for the Unity course as well. If we're making any buttons, if we're creating any, particularly because we're doing a 2D course, GIMP is a great tool for to use if you don't want to pay for Photoshop and you want to be making your own assets, or if you want to be downloading assets from the asset store, which I'm a huge fan of, and then modifying them yourself so they look a little bit different to all the other assets. You see in the community, if you're online, people often get upset about assets that people use from the asset store because it looks like everyone else's assets. So you can tweak them and change them. They also get upset if you use two different asset packs that look very different. It looks like you're kind of jamming your realistic space marine with your anime cartoonish characters. People don't like that. So just side note on that. And then Blender, obviously 3D creation is amazing. And when it comes to, if you want to get your projects completed, if you need a little bit of help with your systems, your processes, your motivation, your support, then Finish It is a course that we've put together that is all about that, processes and systems for project management, for motivation, for staying on track, for getting rid of procrastination problems, for removing distractions. One really cool challenge I give you in that course is to take on 30 days where you don't do any particular distraction. And as I was creating the course myself, I was playing a lot of, what was the game I was playing at the time? It might have been PUBG, Player Unknown Battleground. I was playing a bit of that, and so my commitment was to delete that from my computer and uninstall it and not touch it for 30 days, because even if it's only an hour here and there, I play an hour a couple of times a week, that hour can be incredibly powerful for you finishing your project and focusing on it and getting things done. So removing distractions is huge. Hence, the Finish It course is something that we recommend throughout our curriculum.
Thank you, Rick. I'm going to take the next one because they're bored of hearing you. Well, I'm bored of hearing you.
Projecting onto them.
Always.
Hands up all those people who are more bored listening to Ben or Rick.
No,
okay,
don't do it. I'll get rumbled. I'm going to cover your face up with this, and I'm going to briefly talk through this. Unity, we recommend starting with Unity 2D. Unity 2D is somewhat inherently simpler. Just bear in mind that it's a bumpy road until the updates get finished. Then the 3D, then Blender, because modeling, being able to deal with models and create simple placeholder art becomes super important by that stage. You can't really live without it. Then the RPG, and then Finish It's always the end, because we need you to learn to finish things. People often ask about the board game course. I'm going to just share that as well. If I can remember what the 3-letter code is. I'm not sure I can. Maybe somebody can post me a link to the board game course in the chat. That's pure game design with no game engine, pen and paper. Game design, so that's that. And then the one that the very question came about, and now I'm going to see if I can find it. So, 1 second. So it was Bubble Dad, Bubble Dad 12, asked a while ago, can we show this infographic? And here's the Unreal one, and I will bring that up on the screen and tell you about that journey briefly as well. So Unreal, obviously, you'd start with why Unity 3D first? Why have we put that on the top? Because for most people, jumping from scratch, jumping straight into Unreal Engine and C++ and the complexity and slowness of that, slowness to kind of get anything done of that engine is a bit scary. So I'd do the 3D Unity course first. You'll get basic C family coding. C# and C++ are very similar. You'll get the 3D engine concepts, the basic component architecture all down. Then do the Unreal course, then Unreal Multiplayer, then Unreal VR. So that's the journey there. I'll leave that up on the screen a bit longer. Sorry, I flashed that past a bit too fast. So there it is. We'll leave that there for a second. Cool.
Good question. Why is there no GIMP in the 2D roadmap? We didn't really have a 2D roadmap. We have more of a Unity roadmap.
Yeah, GIMP's in the art roadmap.
Yeah. It's
why is there no GIMP in that Unity roadmap? There could be. You could put GIMP in there yourself. It's just that it's a small, simple course that is designed specifically just for icons and things like that. And I just don't know that you need it. It's not going to block you from moving forward. It's not going to give you enough to create all the 2D art you do for a game. and you would probably go and buy texture packs and asset packs as you need them. So, I mean, you absolutely grab GIMP, but I think that it's more part of the artist journey than the generic Unity journey. So.
Ben, Mark's asking, did you mean to post the Godot link, given that it's in early access and you've posted an early?
Yeah, I can. That's fine. I mean, it's not available yet, but if people want early access and warts and all, they're welcome to go take a look at it. I would wait until, personally, I would wait until till Godot is out properly.
Because you posted that link already in the chat.
Yeah, I'm aware. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I can't unpost it. So.
Okay, cool. Gotcha.
So where are we? Why is there no Blender? Why is there no Blender in the Unreal roadmap? There is no Blender in the Unreal roadmap. There could be. There's enough stages in the Unreal roadmap, and we feel that Unreal developers are going to be more focused on the type of Unreal developers we have are more focused on the coding side than the art side. So you can start with C++. It's just harder, as people are saying. Absolutely. So, all right, I think we need to start thinking about winding up the stream. I think it's been good. We've got a few more published. I don't want to be too late here. I want to kind of get to bed. So, yeah.
What are you talking about? The day's just young. There's plenty of time.
Yeah, it is for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, I want to thank everyone on the Unity courses for your patience while we're remastering, but also such positive feedback. Did I freeze again?
Yeah, such positive feedback, I think you said.
Okay, such positive, friendly feedback when there's a bug or an issue or a change or an update. It's very rare that within our Unity community, I get this in other places, but it's very from Ben. It's very rare that we get people from the Unity community being a change or a problem or a bug or an update positive and proactive, and it really helps us bring that same energy and be excited about creating new content. So a big thank you to how you give us feedback. It helps a lot, and it's very not internet-ish the way it happens, if you know what I mean.
You're breaking up quite a lot there, Rick, so we probably better stop it here. So awesome, guys. Nice to have you here. Thank you very much. Keep an eye on the events page of Twitch in order to see just twitch.tv/GameDev.tv/events. Keep an eye there for what's coming next, and we'll see you guys soon.
See ya.